Welcome to this lesson on dilution solutions. Today, we're going to explore one of the most important formulas in chemistry, M₁V₁ equals M₂V₂. This equation is essential for understanding how to calculate the dilution of concentrated solutions. Dilution is a fundamental skill you'll use throughout your chemistry studies and in laboratory work. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what dilution means, how the formula works, and how to solve practical problems involving dilution calculations. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is dilution? Dilution is the process of reducing the concentration of a solution by adding more solvent while keeping the amount of solute constant. Think of it this way: if you have a strong cup of juice concentrate and you add water to it, you're diluting it. The juice particles are still there, but they're now spread out in more liquid, making the solution less concentrated. The key point to remember is that when you dilute a solution, you're only adding the solvent, usually water. The actual dissolved substance, the solute, doesn't change in amount. Now let's break down the dilution formula. M₁V₁ equals M₂V₂. This equation has four variables. M1 represents the initial molarity or concentration before dilution. V1 is the initial volume before dilution. M2 represents the final molarity or concentration after dilution. And V2 is the final volume after dilution. Understanding what each variable represents is crucial for solving dilution problems correctly. Remember, molarity is measured in molar, abbreviated as capital M, and volume is typically measured in milliliters or liters. Here's the key principle behind the dilution formula. When you dilute a solution, you're only adding solvent. The actual amount of dissolved substance doesn't change. In other words, the number of moles of solute before dilution equals the number of moles of solute after dilution. Since molarity times volume equals moles, we can write this relationship as M₁V₁ equals M₂V₂. This is why the formula works. The product of concentration and volume on both sides represents the same number of moles of solute, which remains constant throughout the dilution process. Let's work through a practical example. You have 50 milliliters of 6.0 molar hydrochloric acid. The question is, how much water must you add to dilute it to 2.0 molar? First, let's identify what we know. M1, the initial concentration, is 6.0 molar. V1, the initial volume, is 50 milliliters. M2, the final concentration we want, is 2.0 molar. And V2, the final volume, is what we need to find. This is a typical dilution problem where we're given three values and need to calculate the fourth. Here's how we solve this problem step by step. Step 1, write down the formula M₁V₁ equals M₂V₂. Step 2, substitute the known values into the formula. 6.0 molar times 50 milliliters equals 2.0 molar times V2. Step 3, solve for V2. We calculate 6.0 times 50, which gives us 300. Then we divide 300 by 2.0, which equals 150 milliliters. So the final volume, V2, is 150 milliliters. But wait, we're not done yet. Here's an important distinction. We found that V2 equals 150 milliliters, but that's the final total volume of the solution. The question specifically asks how much water we need to add. To find the amount of water to add, we subtract the initial volume from the final volume. So we calculate V2 minus V1, which is 150 milliliters minus 50 milliliters, giving us 100 milliliters. Therefore, you need to add 100 milliliters of water to the original 50 milliliters of concentrated solution to achieve the desired dilution. Before we wrap up, here are some key reminders to keep in mind when working with dilution problems. First, the units for V1 and V2 must match. You can use milliliters or liters, but both volumes must be in the same units. Second, the final concentration M2 is always less than the initial concentration M1 because we're diluting the solution. Third, the final volume V2 is always greater than the initial volume V1 since we're adding solvent. And finally, remember that the amount of water added equals V2 minus V1. Keep these principles in mind and you'll master dilution calculations. Remember, M₁V₁ equals M₂V₂.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.